Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are. My goodness, what an interesting season we're in the automotive industry. What an crazy, incredible opportunity in front of you, right? Crazy, incredible opportunity in front of you. I apologize, my jacket got taken away for dry cleaning, the one I keep here at the office. So today, no jacket today. All right. You all right with that? That's okay, because we're going to roll up our sleeves and get dirty today. We're going to roll up our sleeves and get dirty. I'm going to give you some incredibly practical application things that you're going to need to execute on in your dealerships immediately. Immediately. And listen, I know that you have a million things on your plate right now. I know that. You have a million different things on your plate. You are dealing with so much. I totally get it. But today, I am going to give you 6 areas in your dealership that must be attended to immediately. Immediately. These are 6 that are absolutely crucial to your success moving forward. Now, before I do give you these, I want to make sure that you understand the philosophy behind a book called The One Thing. So Gary Keller wrote this book, and the philosophy is, what's the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? Now, you see, the reason I want to make sure that you know and understand the philosophy behind this book is you do have a million things. And the 6 that I point out are going to be things that you are already dealing with. These aren't going to be new things on your plate, is my guess. Maybe 1 or 2 of them. They're not going to be new things on your plate. And so how do you prioritize when you have a million different things to do? Well, this is how you prioritize. What is the one thing that you can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier, unnecessary? And then we work diligently on that one thing until it comes to a completion. Once it's completed, then we can move to some of the other items on the list. Now, Glenn, that's hard to do. People come into my office, I get distracted, something comes up, there's a heat case. Totally get it. You might have to go off to the side for 5, 10, 15, an hour, whatever long. But then you got to come back to the one thing, right? The major priority, which typically we get a little sidetracked and then we go to the next thing and then something else. And then a month later goes by and we're like, oh yeah, we were going to work on that, remember? So we have got to create your target, the one thing that you're shooting for. Now, what's cool about this is not just a philosophy or strategy that you can use in your life. It's actually a great leadership strategy that you can use with your team. It's actually much better as a management style than it is individual. So here's an example. PayPal, on their annual review forms, instead of being given to room to write a laundry list of accomplishments, every single employee was only allowed to identify their single most valuable contribution to the company, right? So PayPal sends out all these reviews and asks the individuals one question. What is the one thing that you feel you attribute most to the company? Phenomenal thought, right? I guarantee you there's not an employee in your dealership that's ever had anybody ask them that. And given some time for them to respond, I think you'd be really surprised by what they come back and say. So imagine each employee identifies their single most valuable contribution to the company. Now, there's a philosophy that says 20% of effort ends up creating 80% of results. 20% of effort currently in your dealership is creating 80% of the results. So if you put the two together, we've got the 20-80 rule and then this philosophy of the one thing and putting people in their zone of genius, Check out what happened for PayPal. With distractions cleared away, Thiel empowered, which is the CEO, he empowered every person in the company to pursue their only priority with extreme dispatch and vigor, giving each individual in the organization a singular focus drives people to work on only those goals that will help achieve true excellence. Wow. Basically, by asking the question, what is the one thing that you contribute, he then was able to make sure everyone was in the right seat in case they weren't, and then able to empower them to dive in on the one thing that they do incredibly well. Immediately identifying any spaces or holes or opportunities where they don't have a person, right? You don't have a person in a specific zone of genius, so they immediately identified that. And then the employee immediately felt better about their job, about their career, about their position, felt seen, heard, and significant because now they're getting to do the thing that they love to do, that they feel is their greatest attribution to the company. Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. And then here's what ends up happening on the other side. So now instead of 20% of the time spent or of the effort spent creating 80% of the results and 80% of the effort creating 20% of the results, now what we have is 80% of the effort going to the thing that they're best at. 80% of their effort going into the thing that is their genius. What type of result do you think that gets in your dealership? It's tremendous. Tremendous. So as a management style, it's great. As an individual style, it's important. And so now how do we point 80% of our effort to the things that matter most? And that's why I want to give you these 6 areas that must be attended to. 6 areas that must be attended to in your dealership immediately. And then I want you to pick one that out of the 6 affects most the rest, either causing them to be unnecessary or makes them easier, right? You pick one from the 6 and start there. And then you can start to continue to dive into the rest. Fair enough? Fair enough. All right, 6 areas in your dealership that must be attended to immediately. Number 1 is your search and your ability to show up online in front of eyeballs, consistently inundating them with your marketing, your story, your brand, your products, all of it. The reason I put this number 1 is nothing matters without this part. You can have the greatest systems and processes in the world. You can have inventory. You can not have inventory. You can have great people, not have great people. You can have a great culture, not have a great culture. None of it matters. If you don't have eyeballs, if you don't have leads being generated, if you don't have people's attention, none of it matters. Zip, zero. Put in all the technology you want. If you ain't got no dang customers, you got nothing. This is priority number 1, numero uno. Customers are now, it's almost like a 1-to-1 ratio. If 100 people search for a vehicle online, 79 of those people will buy a vehicle in the next 14 days. I'm going to give you that number again. If 100 people search for a vehicle online, 79 of those people will buy a car in the next 14 days. The average amount of dealerships that they visit has gone down to what? 1.2 dealerships per purchase? It's like 1-to-1. They go to one dealership, they buy one car because they're doing most of the research online. They're visiting a few different pages, maybe. If they can get their problem solved right out the gate, they won't even visit all of those pages, and nobody searches for a car. I'm sorry, 1 out of every 5 people search for a car and don't buy one. Your real estate, your visibility, your attraction, your awareness, all of those things online is not only the most important aspect of the whole gig nowadays, but it's detrimental if you don't have this down. If you do not have this part down, it is detrimental to the health and to the future of your dealership. Times have changed. Being in locale, getting together physically, all of those things have changed. The way that looks changed. Technology has changed the way people want to shop. People don't go to the grocery store. They get it delivered to their house, right? Things have changed when it comes to locale. And so if you're not winning the game online, which is not that hard to do, because so many dealers are like, I don't understand it. I'll just give it to this company over here. They'll do what they do. I don't understand it. They don't take the time to learn it. And so many dealers are still just holding on to this hope that one day the doors are just going to flood open again with walk-in traffic that you can tell whatever you want, say whatever you want, do whatever you want. Not happening. You win online or you don't win. That's it. It's that important. So with that said, how do we win online organically without having to spend a ridiculous amount of money? How do we show up in search in a way, like how do people find us more? How do we become omnipresent on the internet and in that world so that organically people can bump into us and know that we are the go-to premier place for them to do business? How do we do that? I'm going to give you 10 ways that you can do that. All right, I'm going to give you the actual strategies. This is from a company called Web Solutions, and they help me break down the 10 major key components of your organic ability to rank, to outrank even some of the manufacturers, to be able to outrank manufacturers, to be able to outrank your competition, to be able to show up all over the web. All right? So lean in, pay attention, shut your door if that's something you're doing. Maybe if you're on a run, you might be like, oh, hold up. I need to get a pen and paper. I need to stop. Don't stop your run. Finish your run. Come back. Whatever you need to do, right? But I'm going to give you the 10 ways to organically boost your visibility and ultimately the leads that are pouring into your dealership. Fair enough? Fair enough. Let's go. Have you had time to go get a pen? I hope you have. Now, Rob's also going to take some notes for you, which is great. So you'll have the notes in the module, some of the notes, some of the points. He's also going to timestamp this so you can come back to it, which is great about the dashboard, right? You know, the technology that we're using with this now is so cool. So cool. But just because we have the technology doesn't mean you don't need to do the work. Sometimes grabbing a pen and a paper will cement things a little bit further. Us having the notes for you, super important. I think it's valuable. This is so important. I need you to grab a pen and paper and write them down and process them. Pause after each one and think about, where is my dealership on a scale of 1 to 10 on doing this particular thing or in this particular area. And some of you may just be dominating on across all 10 of these. I doubt it, but it's possible. And if that is the case for you, my guess is you're probably dominating all the other dealerships in your market. And maybe you could come to the Q&A and you could share with everyone, hey, we're doing these things and we're crushing it. Maybe that would be the case. So I don't know your individual situation or scenario. Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. Number 1. In order to improve your search, your rankings organically, not costing you money, the very first thing you have to do is you have to improve your website experience. Okay, the website experience. Once the user lands on your website, the experience they have there is ultimately going to determine whether or not Google is going to send your website out to other people. You see, Google's job is to deliver the resource or the information to the consumer in a user-friendly way, right? As fast as humanly possible. And so there's things that they're looking at and measuring to make sure that what they recommend was worth recommending. If they recommend people to your site and the experience sucks, they're not going to recommend more people to your site. But if they recommend people to your site and the experience is amazing, they'll send more people to your site. So what are the key components of that? These are the 4 things that Google is measuring when it comes to your website. They are measuring, these are the top 4 things. They're measuring a lot of things, but these are the top 4. They are measuring your visits. How many people are going to your website? That's simple as that, right? How many people are going to your website? And where are we pushing people to the website from? We're pushing people to the website from a Facebook ad. We're pushing people to the website from a radio ad, from a television ad. We're pushing people to the website. A lot of our salespeople are probably using the website to look at inventory, so on and so forth, right? We're always pushing people to the website. So visits matter. So the more people we can push to the website, the better. Your employees should be going and using the website often. Family members should be getting on the website often. The more visitors we get, the better. Just make sure of a couple things. That once they get to the website, the time on site matters. So if they're just going to the website for 2 seconds, bopping off, not good. They're going to the website and they're spending a few minutes there, much better. They're going to the website and spending 10 minutes, 15 minutes on the website. Now we're talking, right? Google loves that. Google says, holy smokes, I sent them to this website and they hung out there for 15 minutes. That's insane. People have an 8-second attention span. Are you kidding me? We need to give this website to more people. Pop it over here. Pop it over here. Let's go, right? That's how Google works. Now they're also looking at pages per visit. Now what I've noticed a lot in the automotive world is we have multiple pages to our websites, but many of them are irrelevant, right? They're pages no one will ever click on. I remember we did a heat mapping of our website, which is something I highly suggest you do. We did a heat map of our website when I was at the dealership, and in that heat map, it showed us exactly where people's fingers touch, what buttons they click on, what buttons they don't. And what was interesting is you have the top page when you first go to your website, and we could see exactly which of those page tabs people were clicking on and which ones were never getting any clicks at all or very little. And then as we scroll down the page, we can see less and less touches because people aren't really scrolling. They're getting their information right across the top. And then we were able to go onto each page and look on each page and be able to see, where on those pages people were actively participating in the website. And by knowing this information, we were able to remove dead pages that weren't necessary and create more engaging, more entertaining pages. So definitely get a heat map. I think it's super important. Heat map of your website so you can figure out what pages are actually drawing clicks and which ones are not. Okay, super important. So visits to the website, time on the website, your pages per visit to the website, and then your bounce rate, okay? Bounce rate is where somebody leaves without taking any type of action, no type of activity. They don't connect with you, right? They don't send an email. They don't use your tool. They don't do any of that, right? They just hit the site, maybe glance around for half a second or more, and then they just bounce out of there. Google doesn't like that. Again, falls along the same lines. If I recommend you to a barber and you go over to the barber, and then within minutes of arriving at the barber, you just bounce because the place was dirty, the place was nasty, the place smelled like, chitlins or something like that, then chitlins, I believe I just said, that took me back. But if the place doesn't, anything like that, and you bounce, Obviously, it's not good. You're not going to go back to that place, and I probably am not going to recommend it to anybody else, right? Same exact thing. So these are the 4 components: your visits, your time on site, your pages per, and your bounce rate. Now, whatever marketing company you're working with already knows this or should already know this, but you should be behind them asking these questions. What does my bounce rate look like? What are my pages per? How much time are people spending on the site? How can we make it better? How can we make that user experience better? All right. So that's number 1 under search. All right. So we're going to break it down like this. There's 6 things that you have to attend to. Search is number 1. Under search, I'm going to give you 10 things that you should be doing organically to increase your visibility with Google, online, on the internet. Fair enough? Fair enough. So that's number 1 under number 1. 1A, we'll call that. All right? 1-1, whatever you want to call it. Okay? Second thing. So number 1 is we have to improve our website experience. That's number 1. Number 2, under increasing your search and visibility, is you have to write great content and have it optimized for SEO. All right? Google's job is when people type into that little bar, right? When people type into that little search bar, their job is to connect that search and the intent of that consumer with the appropriate place to get them the result. Therefore, you need to have on your website great, amazing, phenomenal content that is going to be optimized for what the consumer is searching for, okay? Now, here's how they suggest that you make sure to optimize this. All of the content on your website should be mistake-free. You see, Google will penalize you for misspellings, for bad grammar. Google will penalize you for that. Why? Because Google wants to have the most professional experience for the consumer. They don't care about you. They care about their customer. That's who they care about. So they want your stuff to be mistake-free. They want everything on your website to be keyword rich. Okay? And here's what keyword rich means. It means the most common words that people are searching for should be all over your website. Now, they shouldn't just be like typed in like transmission, Chevy, need a car, use. Like, that's not how they should be in there. Just listing off keywords is not going to help your organic growth. Having a paragraph on the website that makes absolutely no sense in real life terms. See, Google has gotten so smart now. They know. Google knows if you're just trying to hack the little keyword system or if you're actually delivering incredible content and value. And that's what they want. They want to deliver, to dish up the businesses that are delivering incredibly valuable content type stuff, not just somebody who's writing a list. Like Instagram, for example. Instagram has 30 hashtags. They want you to use 30 hashtags. Those 30 hashtags will help you get more reach. Those 30 hashtags should be somewhat relevant to your post, but it really doesn't matter. Websites, different. If you're just listing out 30 things for keyword purposes, not going to work. Doesn't get you the reach that we're talking about. But if you can weave in those keywords into stories, into the copy, into the text that's on the page with context, now all of a sudden Google says this is a good thing. They're going to send you out to some more people. Number 3 under number 2, which is under number 1. Right? Number 1, most important thing, search. Then we're breaking down the 10 things, right? The 10 things that are going to increase your organic search. Now, and Rob's going to be having fun with the notes on this. Now, under those 10 things, I'm giving you the 5 things under the second thing. Yeah, I'm totally confusing you. So the first thing under the 10 things was your user experience, right? And there's 4 things under that. The second thing was your search, your keyword, your great content, right? Making sure you have great content. And in order to have that great content and have it be found, it needs to be mistake-free, keyword-rich, and it also needs to be mobile optimized, okay? All the stuff, for the most part, when people spend time on your website, it's going to be on mobile. Not everybody's going to be using a desktop or a laptop. Most of your clicks and views are going to come from a mobile device. So make sure that whatever content you put up there, even on those deep back pages, right? Those back pages, those blog pages, things like that, making sure that that stuff is all mobile friendly is going to be crucial to your organic growth on Google. Now, also, making sure that everything on your page addresses an actual need. Okay, again, this goes to not just putting nonsense words on there. We actually have to address the need. How do we create content, valuable content on our page that addresses a need? Well, there's lots of ways we can do this. One, you can go to Google Trends, and see what people are talking about. What are people searching for? Now, once you see what they're talking about, what they're searching for, what their trouble is, what their problem is, then we can now make adjustments to our stories, to what we tell on our website that ultimately triggers what people are actually looking for. Does that make sense? Start putting content that matters on your website instead of just talking about stinking cars for sale. A cars for sale website ain't gonna show up unless you pay a ton of money. But if we can create amazing content and bring people to the site and bring the awareness, we can increase our organic traffic. Are you following me here? I hope you are. Number 5. This is number 5 under write great content that is optimized for SEO, which is the number 2 thing out of 10 things that you're going to do to increase your organic search. Number 5, valuable links. So on your website, make sure whatever links on there would be considered valuable to the user. All right. So maybe you have links to, for example, if you don't necessarily have a body shop. If you don't have a body shop and someone ends up on your website looking for body repair work, you could have a link on your website to your favorite body shop. Does that make sense? To a service that you don't necessarily provide, but someone might end up on your website looking for. You can have valuable links to them. You can have valuable links to coupon codes or resources that they can utilize in your dealership. You just want to make sure you have valuable links. If you're going to put a link in there to your Facebook page, that could be considered valuable if they want to connect with you there, right? So just make sure all your links are valuable, that there's no links on there that don't in any way, shape, or form help the consumer. And of course, that there are actually some links on the page. Super important. Now, number 3, starting, you're like, number 3. Yeah, number 1, creating a valuable experience online using, making sure that your visits, your time on site, your pages per, and your bounce rate, just remembering that they're monitoring all those. Number 2, increasing that SEO using mistake-free, keyword-rich, mobile optimized, addressing a need, and valuable links. Number 3, your backlinks. Create backlinks that connect you with other legitimized businesses or operations. Okay? So a backlink is where you're sending someone to somewhere else and they're sending them to you, right? Perfect example of this would be whatever charities, maybe it's a charity you support, churches you support, you should have links to those things. You should actually have a full page on each one, like a full landing page. If I support, I don't know, say I support something like a volunteer center, some type of volunteer center where people come together, they pack Christmas clothes and Christmas gifts for kids, right? If I support that, then what we should be doing is we should create a page that has content about what they do at that particular place, who the people are that are there, links to be able to connect with them, and then ultimately our partnership or how our customers can help support this particular organization that we need, that we like to be a part of, right? So now we're creating valuable content. We have links in there that are linking to valuable ways that people can serve, and then we have that organization backlink on their page to us, Google likes this. Google likes the collaborations between businesses. Google can easier legitimize who you are through backlinks with other organizations, right? It's basically your references of sorts. And it shows your popularity. It shows that other people are willing to put your website on their page. And that, my friends, is a big deal. That's number 3. Number 4, improve your page speed. Dude, your page has got to be blazing. People nowadays are paying all this money for high-speed internet and whatnot. The last thing they want is your page to slow them down. Now, sometimes we have these big videos on the top that can slow things down. There's lots of things that can slow your page down. And sometimes we just take it for granted. We're like, oh, well, no big deal. We have patience. Our employees have patience. It works for us. Your consumer, they ain't got no patience. And Google ain't got no patience either for people's websites who are slow, that are causing a bounce rate, causing people to bounce off the site. Google says, you know what? Every time somebody goes to your site, they freaking bounce, and it's because your freaking page is slow, so I'm not sending anybody to your page because your page is too dang slow. So make sure it's fast. You're okay with it being a little bit slower, but the consumer is not. I want you to remember the last time you went to somebody else's website and it was slow. What did you do? What did you do when that thing did not come up for 3, 5, 7 seconds? What did you do? You backed out of it. You bounced. Maybe you tried loading it again. And then when that didn't work, you were like, yeah. And by then your daughter came up to you, a salesperson came up to you, a notification popped, an email, and you were gone, never to be thought of again. That's how it works in today's world. Stuff better work. Oh, hiccup. Oh, darn. Oh, I'm sorry. What? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Hold on. You know exactly what I'm talking about because it happens to you every single day. Every day you sit down and go to do something and then you get distracted and you end up doing something else. Happens to you every single day. We are in this world where there's so much getting thrown. So much getting thrown that we are so quick to and be gone. It's so easy. Even a remotely slow website will cost you tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, potentially millions of dollars just because your site's slow. You need to be on your web developer's rear end when your site is slow. The site's a little slow. Can you let me know what's going on there? Mr. Lundy, we're going to get right back to you. No, actually, I'm going to hang on. I'm going to hang on right here. And if you could help me figure out why my site's slow, it's literally costing me millions of dollars. Yes, Mr. Lundy, let us figure out what we can do. Here's what we found. Video at the top. It's causing us to get slow down. Okay, great. Fix it or remove it. Well, sir, it would be really easy to remove it. Great, I understand. But I do like the video. I do. So I need you to fix it. Does it need to be in a different frame rate? Does it need to, push these people, man? Make them do their job. Make them do their job. You're paying them so much stinking money. Make them do their job. That's number 4. You got to improve that speed on your website, all right? Number 5. You cannot have any broken links. Everything on that website has to work. When I click on something, it better take me exactly where you told me it was going to take me. And it better take me there fast, right? There's nothing more frustrating, and you know this, nothing more frustrating. You click on a link, first it's slow, then it pops up and it's like a 404 error code, right? 404 HTML code not found, any of those things. Super, super frustrating. Or you click on a link, you think you were going to one place, but it actually sends you somewhere else. You're like, what the heck, man? I clicked the dang, there's nothing worse. Like you're trying to just watch a thing and an ad pops up and your button accidentally clicks it and now it shoots you over. You're like, golly, I don't want to be here. This is not where I want to be. I'm frustrated. I'm mad. I'm angry. I'm upset. I'm never doing business with these people. Are you kidding me? I'm out of here. Bounce. Google says, oh, going to the website. They're bouncing out of there. Do you see how this all goes together? Do you see how important this is? Do you see how many millions of dollars you may be missing out on because your website lags by 2 or 3 seconds, that you may be missing out on because your experience is old and outdated on the website? There's nothing relevant because your site's just set up with a bunch of keywords that actually aren't content rich. They don't actually tell a story, that your website's just another car dealership website where the only thing you can do is go look at cars. That's great. Yes, the consumer wants to go to the website to buy a car. That's why they're there. But you're not going to get your website in front of the consumer to buy the car unless you optimize all these other pieces. I'm not saying you're not. You can, but you could be doing it better for free, right? You're already paying the web developer. Put these things in place for free and make more money. I want you to make more money. So check it out. There's a couple places you can check. If you go to Broken Link Checker, they will, for free, check your website to see if there's any broken links anywhere in there. Or if you don't like that one for some reason, you can go to Dead Link Checker. This is another free resource that will go to your website, and it'll just make sure everything on your website is connected, is clicking, is firing as it's supposed to be. All right. So use one of those 2 resources. Check it yourself. Don't call your team, the web developer team, and say, hey, are all the links working? Dude, check it yourself, man. Come on. Take this stuff seriously. Let's go. Lean in a little bit. Make it a priority. Glenn, I got a lot of things going on. I get it. There's nothing more important. I've taught you lots of things over all the time we've been together. There's nothing more important because none of it matters if we don't get people. If we can't get you eyeballs, we can't sell any cars. We can't sell any service. Can't sell any parts. Can't sell anything. All right? Take the time. Number 6. Number 6 is we need to optimize the images that you have on your website. Okay? So all of the images, right? All the different cars that you got, because I know you got this beautiful car at your dealership right now, but all the different cars that you have, any pictures that you have on your website, pictures of people, pictures of cars, all of those things. Those pictures need to be optimized to make it very, very easy for Google to find them, read them, and decide whether or not that's relevant to what somebody's searching. Okay? And the way that they say to do that is the pictures must be compressed, which means it's not a huge file that Google has to search all over a big file. It's very, very small. Google can see it quickly, right? I want you to think about the difference between how quickly you can read the numbers on this remote, right? Everything's compressed. It's all in one place. Versus if all of this information that is on this remote, if all of this information on the remote was on let's say a big billboard, right? A huge billboard that had all of this information, as you were driving past the billboard, how much of this information would you receive? Not much, right? It'd be very difficult for you to take in every single button on this thing if it was on a billboard. But by compressing it right here where it's into a remote, you can look at it fairly quickly and figure out where to navigate. You've got a volume button, you've got a channel up and down, you've got a house, you know what I'm saying, a menu button. All of this is compressed, it's small, it's easy for you to process versus if all of that was on a billboard. That's the same thing with your pictures. Your pictures need to be compressed. The people are looking at it on the internet. So yes, it needs to look nice. The vehicle needs to look nice and clean, but it doesn't need to be so big that you could put it on a billboard. That's not necessary. It's slowing down the ability for Google to find the information that's on there. We don't want to do anything to slow Google down. You also want to make sure that every picture has a descriptive file name. So sometimes our lot techs especially, our picture people at the dealership, A lot of times they'll just go take the pictures and then they'll just take the file, right? Picture 1, picture 2, picture 3, picture 4, picture 5, picture 6, picture 7, picture 8, all the way up to 60 pictures of the vehicle, right? So they're like, okay, it's stock number, whatever, picture 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to 70. That's not a descriptive picture name. Does this take extra time? Totally takes extra time. Is it worth it? It's totally worth it. So instead of that, this picture right here should be labeled Silver Ford Edge, right? Silver Ford Edge. So if somebody's searching for a silver Ford Edge, there's a chance that your car will pop up in that search as long as the picture is described as well. It just makes things easier for Google. That's it. That's all we're doing, is making it easier for Google, okay? So they need to be compressed, not too big, descriptive file name, and then there's something called alt text enabled. Now, your alt text, not to get too technical, but it's basically script that's written into the picture, or I'm sorry, that's written behind the picture that helps Google find it as well. So we want to make sure we do all three of those things, keep it compressed, have the alt text in place, and then, of course, descriptive file name. Don't waste any digits or any letters on your websites. It doesn't make sense. Point people to where we want them to go. So that's number 6 of number 1 of the 6 most important, crucial things you need to attack in your dealership. Okay? You're like, Glenn, holy smokes, you're going to get to 6 of these? Clearly I'm not. We're running out of time, but it's okay. Number 7 is you need to use what's called H1 or H2, H3. You need to utilize the header tags. Okay? Utilize the header tags in the body of your website. By using these header tags, it is more aesthetic. It's easier for the consumer to travel around the page. And it's also easier for Google to find. Okay, you're like, well, what do you mean utilize header tags? So on your pages, I guess I should have brought a better example. I apologize for that. I'll have Rob put an example on there. But when you have a page of information, like a lot of times your inventory pages, you have a lot of different pieces of inventory. And you have a header on there, right, that says 2017 Toyota Camry, okay? That would be a header. We want to make sure that we're utilizing those. Now, when we go to the VDP, the vehicle display page, when we go to the VDP, we might at that point have not been utilizing headers. We just kind of have the information that's on the vehicle. You want to make sure there's a headline, okay, 2017 Toyota Camry. Then there can be a sub-headline, safest vehicle on the road today, whatever it is, something content related, something value add, something descriptive that ultimately Google can search and find. Or maybe it's even 2017 Toyota Camry. The next subheading says the color, red 2LE, whatever it is, right? Whatever it is, and then you can have another subheading, and then you can have all the description information underneath. You just want to make sure you're utilizing headlines as much as possible, and that's a great experience for the consumer as well, because they can quickly identify the pieces of content that are most important to them and to their eyeballs. Does that make sense? It cosmetically looks good when we have some separation. So what I'm saying is just don't have a bunch of words with one big headline at the top. You have an H1 and an H2. In a lot of cases, you can even have an H3, okay? They love this. Now, might be getting a little too technical, might want to leave this to your to your developers, but it's something you need to be talking to them about and make sure that they are utilizing for your site, okay? Number 8 thing you can do to increase your organic search. This isn't going to cost you no money whatsoever. Number 8 is I need you to optimize your site for local search, okay? Optimize your site for local search. Okay, now here's how you can do that. First thing you got to do is you got to claim your Google business profile. Some of you do not, didn't even know. I didn't know for a while myself that every business has like a Google business profile, but you have to go in and register for it. You got to go in and claim it. You know, that little box up to the right that shows your business and shows how many reviews you have, and you can put pictures in it, so on and so forth, right? You definitely want to make sure that that is set up. You need to claim that. You can do that through Google. I'm sure Rob will give you a link possibly. You also want to provide content in Google Posts, okay? Provide content in Google Posts, which is just Google Posts, and it'll tell you all about it. But you want to start making sure that you're the authority. You're an authority. Your dealership's an authority. It's the place to be. And so you want to make sure that you are providing content. So Google Post is a place where they take content from wherever, from different sources. It's kind of like an encyclopedia. And so you want to make sure that you're distributing your content in Google Posts, and then that'll get distributed out locally to your people. You also want to make sure that you're connected in local directories. Okay, so any local directory that they have, I know it might sound silly. They're like, hey, for $15 a year, we can get you in our local directory for the Masons of whatever. Do it. You're like, man, nobody looks at that thing. One person does. And if that one person buys a car from you and it costs you $15 a year, what are you going to make on that one person? What's the ROI on that $15? To get in every local directory that you can get in. Now, this is great for the opportunity to sell a car, but it's even more great for the opportunity online for you to show up in more searches, because all of these businesses, all these places that have these local directories, they're putting you on their websites. They're putting you in their databases. They're putting you in all these places that Google searches around and looks for. And so it's giving you more relevance. It's almost like another backlink that's giving you a reference for Google to tell people to go to your site. So get in all the local directories that you can. That will help you online as well. The last piece of this is reviews. Your reviews are so incredibly important. You should be asking for a review from every single customer that does business with you. You need to have a process for this. You have to make it smooth. We've talked about it before. There is a way to do it. If you use Podium, there's an app called Podium. If you use that, it makes it really, 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 really easy. But it should be required as a standard of excellence for you and your employees that every single consumer gives you a review. All right? So that's how you can increase your search locally. Claim your Google business, provide content in Google Posts, which apparently I spelled that wrong. See, there's one of those mistakes that we were talking about that you don't catch until you're in the mix, right? Sometimes you don't catch those things. I got to change that. I'm going to change it right now. Rob's like, no, just keep going. No, I'm changing it. Boom. There it is. Provide content in Google Posts. Local directories, make sure you are in all the local directories, and then of course the reviews. And that is number 8 of the 10 things that you need to be doing to increase your organic search, which is one of the 6 things that are absolutely crucial that you address in the upcoming days, months, weeks, years, etc. Number 9, you need to optimize for voice. 60% of people currently use voice for their means of searching, whether it be through an Alexa device, maybe it's through Google Home, whatever, on their phone with Siri. 60% of people use voice. And so what you need to do, how you can show up more often, is you start asking yourself, what do people say? Right? What do people say? Not what would they write or what would they type, but what would people say that would be a solution you could come up with, right? So if somebody's saying, Alexa, where can I get an oil change, right? They might say something like that. Alexa, where can I get an auto loan with bad credit, right? Like, how do they talk? Not how do they type? Because people type differently than they talk. Typing, they might put bad credit car loan, oil change near me, right? But when they're just talking, it's different. Talking is more casual. And so by making sure that you're thinking of how people ask those questions, you can then optimize for voice. And how do you do that? Well, you make sure that on your website, you're putting in those questions that they're asking. You can have a frequently asked questions page, which is super important. But what's more important is in your writing, in your copy, make sure you use full sentences. Make sure you end everything with a period and 100% no keyword dumping allowed. It's just simply not allowed. Everything on your page should be written in language as though someone is speaking. Make sense? Makes sense. I'm moving through these fast because I'm running out of time. Number 10, last one. Aim for position 0. Do you guys know what position 0 is? So position 0 is the position above position number 1 on Google. And you've seen it lots of times. You Google something, there's a bunch of links down here, but there's a box up here in position 0. And it's right there at the top. And it's super, super, super hard to get in position 0, right? People will say, we can get you ranked number 1. You can spend a bunch of money to get ranked number 1. But to get position 0, the position above number 1, now that's what I'm talking about, dude. That's some authority. When you're all the way at the very top of the page, remember I told you earlier that we heat mapped and people do not like to scroll. So the more you can show up at the top, the better it is for everybody because you got the best dealership in the world. People should be doing business with you anyway, right? So how do you get up into that number 1 spot? Well, 3 simple components that can help. Can't guarantee, but that can help. Throughout your website, there should be the phrases that people are likely searching. Throughout your website, there should be answers to common questions that people are asking. And there 100% needs to be a frequently asked questions page. These 3 things alone, writing in the descriptions, like a description of every car, should include sentences that a consumer would search, but in a very normal tone. Not words, not keywords, sentences. In the descriptions of your people, your services, your value adds, all of those things. Include things that people are likely, like the answer to questions people are likely asking. What questions are people likely asking right now? They're probably asking a lot of questions about electric cars, would be my guess. How many electric cars do you have? Probably not very many as we make this transition. How much does your website talk about electric cars? Maybe a little bit, depending on how forward thinking you are as a dealer. But my guess is if you got a lot full of gas cars, you probably have a lot of conversations around gas vehicles. So if people are searching on electric cars and all your conversations on your website are about gas cars, how are they going to find you? They're not. They're not. And so sometimes it's easy. It's just as easy as having a frequently asked questions page. Frequently asked questions. How many hours can I get on the average electrical vehicle before I have to charge it? Answer that. How many miles does a Tesla or how does the auto driving work in a Tesla? Answer that on your website, dude. Answer the questions people are asking. Well, Glenn, I don't know what people are asking. You don't? Because they're asking your salespeople every single day questions. And if you go into forums online, you can see people asking questions all the time. And you can hear them when you have conversations with your friends, with other people in other fields and industries. What are people talking about, man? Put that stuff on your website. Dude, our websites are old and they're archaic. They're built by by car people. That's what they're built by. They're built by car people. And I'm not discrediting them. They've done a great job to get us this far. And they've done a great job with tagging and so on and so forth. And they understand this stuff even better than I do, 100%. But what they haven't done a great job of is telling you how to tell the story in a way that organically you start to show up everywhere. They haven't told you that. And that's a piece you need to work on. So listen, I'm going to give you 6 things. 6 areas in your dealership that you absolutely have to work on immediately in order to be successful moving forward. But I'm not going to do it all in this training. You're going to have to come back next week. So next week, we're going to talk about acquisition. Acquisition of vehicles is the number 2 of the 6. Now, you're going to pick which one's most important to you. But vehicle acquisition is what we're going to discuss more in next week's training. We'll talk about different strategies and ways to acquire more vehicles. Maybe we'll get to number 3 as well. I'm not sure. But I am going to give you all 6, and I'm giving it to you in small little bites and doses. So take the information I just gave you, contact your web company if you need to, figure out how you're going to get the blog posts in there, figure out how you're going to get the frequently asked questions in there, figure out how you're going to get your detail people or your picture person to make sure that they're using compressed photos with the alt tags, and make sure that the descriptions are the way that you need them to be. Figure out how you're going to speed that website up a little bit. Figure out how to make sure, check your backlinks, and there's no backlinks that aren't messed up, right? All of those things, you're going to do all of those things. Focus on those things, and then I'll see you.